All right, this is Kingdom Entrepreneurship. I'm a man called Dave. I'm here with a woman called Kandle, and often she's referred as the water fairy. I've called her, and she's mentioned that she's a candle in the wind. And I'm here
Mhm.
on the Bandon, Oregon coast. She's all the way in Florida on the west side. Wait, what'd you say? West Palm Beach, Florida? That would be the east side of Florida then.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
Right.
and that's the beauty of Kingdom Entrepreneurship is we can connect through this technology, and it's almost like we're sitting across the table from each other. And she's got a lot to share all the time. She's a student and a teacher. She teaches me, but also she never stops learning. And that's why we get along so well, is because I consider myself a student and a teacher. And I've known her for maybe about 5 years, I would say, or close to 5 years now. And it's almost like every time we come together and meet like this, great things always happen. So that's why I invited her to my Zoom call, Kingdom Entrepreneurship. What I say is, I'm a living spirit inside of a man called Dave, and I want you guys, my friends and my family, to get to know the living spirit inside of a woman called Kandle. So, Kandle, thank you so much for bringing your living spirit onto my Kingdom Entrepreneurship Zoom call. I do want you to just kind of have the freedom to flow and speak your mind and be open and honest as much as you want to be. I have
Mhm.
some questions here that we kind of discussed, but I wanted to be authentic and pure and true, full of truth. So
Mhm.
thank you very much. Can you just, for my friends and my family who might be watching this or the replay, because we're not live, um, can you just introduce yourself a little bit and speak on your experience in Kingdom Entrepreneurship?
Sure, yes. And as you stated, what a wonderful introduction. I am Candle, the water fairy, and I hope to flow and be in that flow state. You infinitely inspire me, Dave. So I'm just so grateful and honored to be here and sharing my authenticity and my experience. And hopefully it can inspire the world as that ripple effect does.
Yes. And the good thing
Yeah.
about, real quick, the great thing about ripples is they don't stop, they continue. And that's why I like doing this, is because there might be a ripple 2 years from now, somebody sees this and can benefit. So that's really what we're here to do. Thank you.
Also, by design, you and I, as per human design, are projectors. So just our presence is inspiring to people. We don't have to do, initiate, activate, take charge. We are lighthouse, we're seers. Just our a simple presence is a guide and can show people how to live more efficiently in life and how to choose the path that makes the most sense in deep alignment. And it's such a gift that we can share with the world, and why this conversation is going to be so powerful.
Thank you for bringing that up because I don't talk about that a lot. I do know about it, but I don't know enough to teach about it. And we have some mutual friends that come into the juice bar here in Bandon, and they are more or less experts on the subject. I'm not. I'm still a student, and I don't know where you fall in one way or the other, but I do like what you've started with this projector, because the other thing we have in common, if you remember, life path number 9.
Yeah.
That, we were introduced to each other through the Kangen. Water is what magnetized us, and you knocked on the door. We were closed here at the juice bar, and you had your big 5-gallon water jug, and I said, "Oh no, we don't do that." But you negotiated your way in the door, even though we were closed, because you were traveling and you needed that living water. So, um, can you speak about what you were saying, projector, anything that you want? But like I said, I do have some questions. So as soon as you're done, with just explaining your experience in Kingdom Entrepreneurship and how it's led you here to this day right now with me, because we only have now.
Yeah.
So how did you get here now?
Oh gosh, isn't that a loaded question? I think I was carried by the waters of this world and it brought me to your front door. And being projectors, we have penetrating energy. That first 30 seconds we had, I think, was a little bit tense. I think we were kind of trying to identify who we were and what the connection was. And it took us a minute to realize that we were allies and we would be forever. But yeah, initially that penetrative projector energy, because we do see people so deeply that sometimes it can feel a little bit off-putting or a little bit abrasive because we see into your soul. That's how we can guide you. Another point on Life Path Nines is that we are here for the collective. We are humanitarian. We are the number of completion. And so we also have this big picture view of how can we help the collective and humanity raise consciousness and progress and continue towards deeper alignment, truth, and understanding, and on this mission that we all chose together as sovereign beings, as hydrated, beautiful beings together. So yeah, you and I have had quite a journey, and I'm so grateful to be at this point where we can dive in a little bit and share details. So I'm good to go if you want to dive in with any questions that you might have.
Well, the first one has to do with life alignment, and that's kind of why I'm really trying to poke and prod and dig at this whole life, path number 9, human design, kingdom entrepreneurship, and then how it led us to be here now. Because what I want to know is, how has living a conscious, healthy lifestyle shaped the way you see the world in your daily choices? We're talking a lot about water. You're the water fairy. I'm Dave the water guy. A lot of people are looking for that guy. And we're 99% water at a cellular level, and our intracellular waters are living waters. We have its exclusion zone, right? You know about easy water, and there's a viscosity, and we talk about the electrolyzed reduced water. But how has this conscious, healthy lifestyle really contributed to your entrepreneurship and the choices that you make on a daily basis? That too much?
It's yeah, it's no, not at all. No, it's really allowed for me to be who I am and give from a state of groundedness and stability, confidence and strength. I mean, it is about cultivating our power. And until we're healthy, hydrated, nothing else matters. It's like we can all have a lot of problems in life, but if we're not well, we only have one problem and nothing else matters but being healthy, being clear, being able to give from a space of abundance and fulfillment and providing to others, especially with our type of design. We really would not be able to live fully because we wouldn't be able to give to others unless we were full ourselves. And it comes from the physical health. It comes from being in that space of clarity and what is it, always returning back to what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah,
Homeostasis.
yes, exactly. Homeostasis and being in a space of ease. So it is the true wealth. It is true abundance.
Well, and homeostasis is balance. That's just a complicated medical word for balance. And our body's always going to do that, except for right now we live in an environment that is designed to keep us unbalanced. So if we're always trying to achieve homeostasis, then we're never in homeostasis, because trying doesn't exist. You are or you're not. And a
That's
lot
it.
of people, when it comes to health and wellness and hydration, people say, "Oh, I'm trying." And I say, time out, cancel, clear. You're doing it. You're here. So that
Mhm.
means you are doing it. And like kingdom entrepreneurship, it never ends. Like that's just who we are. It's in our design. And I do, you know, I'm referring to the kingdom of heaven myself personally. And that which is done in heaven is supposed to be what we're doing here on earth. And we
Mhm.
have a lot of, in my opinion, ignorant kings and queens, and
Mhm.
that don't know their power, their design, their sovereignty, their kingdom dominion is what but even in business, because for employees who are trading time and energy for, money, that's slavery in some cases, especially because we've got all these other systems in place that are intertwined. And I'm not trying to get all into that type of conversation, but I do want to know how you are able to keep yourself free in
Mhm.
America, where most people are not. That and how does keeping yourself healthy and hydrated relate to that?
Mhm. Yeah, there have been times that I felt a bit jaded because it feels so overwhelming that we're having to constantly combat the sick care system and the influence of the mainstream culture and the mainstream lifestyles and things that are convenient but are not serving our purpose or our bodies. You know, I started life with somebody very close to me who was deeply ill consistently, continuously. My mom struggled with so many health issues, and she was in the doctors and out of the doctors multiple times, and they just drained her her life force completely. So I think a lot of my drive and desire to live a healthy, holistic life comes from the little inner child in me whose mommy was not present because of autoimmune, because of cells that were sick, and we didn't know how to understand and identify that. And all of the direction we got from these so-called professionals led her down a path of getting worse and worse and worse until at one point she was in bed for 3 years and I couldn't even enter the room because they had poisoned her with radiation therapy as a trial and error process. So I believe that not everybody has to have a same level of determination towards health and wellness, but there's always a reason, and it's valuing yourself, valuing your worth and the people that are around you. And that's the best investment you can possibly make. Our time here is so limited, and pouring into yourself is true value. You know, I can never get that time back with my mom. Had we been proactive and known what we know now, then I could have had that childhood connected to her. So it's affected me in really deep and painful ways, but it's also inspired me to live in my highest and best potential and to help other people do the same.
You know, actually, I'm going to put this on record. I've never thought about it until right now. I don't know if it just came to me through your inspiration, through being inspired by your story. But when I was a kid growing up, my mom was going through fibromyalgia. And at the time, because I'm a skeptic by nature, I didn't think that that was real. I thought that that was a blanket diagnosis that doctors, because it's pain of unknown origin. That's the what its fibromyalgia is. So it's like, okay, well, also, my mom had just come off of a really nasty divorce. She
Mhm.
was a single mom to two kids. I was kind of rotten and angry too at the time, but we just were introduced to the internet and dial up and AOL, and she spent a lot of time in the chat rooms.
Yeah.
So being exposed to the EMF and the EMR at that time in the late 90s was no one talked about that. And all of
Right.
a sudden she got the fibromyalgia, so stress
Mhm.
plus EMR, electromagnetic radiation, being on the computer, probably contributed to her fibromyalgia, pain of unknown origin, and that affected me too. So there's a lot of residual healing that we have to do now as adults, myself and
Right.
you. The things that you're doing now is
Mhm.
kind of contributing to the reparenting and the healing of what you're speaking about. So thank you for sharing that. I had never really thought about that
Yeah.
for myself too.
Yeah, it was the same diagnosis that they gave my mom, which also no one believed because they couldn't really identify what it was. They called it housewife's disease for women who didn't want to be wives and mothers and take care of their responsibilities. So it became this opportunity to shame them in the ways that they were falling short. Obviously, with no support and no love and understanding and compassion, how much worse does illness get?
Mhm.
When she didn't stand a fighting chance. You know, she's better now, but still struggles with a myriad of things because being reactive towards illness is far worse than being proactive and doing the things that your body needs when you're feeling pretty good. But our overall society at large, the entire world, we're dealing with the highest levels of sickness, illness, disease, and we have more information and resources than we've ever had in our entire lives, but yet people are suffering at very deep, dark, and disturbing levels.
Well, also I say, and you might recognize, belief is the enemy of knowing, and we've
Mm,
outsourced our knowing in exchange for strong beliefs, and we
yeah.
rely on the professionals to
Mhm.
know. And
Yeah.
that's why we're always going to the lawyers and the doctors to handle our affairs for us.
Right.
But they're human, and they're basically only operating from a certain amount of tools as a toolbox. And
Mm,
it's like you say, it's reactive. So
mhm.
what we're doing is we're having a conversation about preventative, proactive instead of reactive. And you can't see, but right next to me, I have the healing web, which I know you're familiar with. And you
Mhm.
can go one way to treat the symptom or one way to heal the root cause. And that's normally holistically is how you heal the root cause. But
Mhm.
most of it we're learning is like parasitic elements,
Yeah.
acids in the body, which is stress and alcohol, tobacco, sugar, things like that.
Inflammation. But what it all traces down to, the root cause of all ailments is the cell. It's I mean, that's what we can fix is the cell to heal all of the ailments that we experience. It truly is. If the cell is overwhelmed by all of the toxins, then it's not taking in any nutrients or anything viable that it needs, and it's also not releasing or methylating. So it's always the cell we look towards to really resolve just about everything. We have the exposures, mycotoxins, biotoxins, neurotoxins. We know where those come from, various different sources that we can't eliminate completely, but the cell is the true source of healing.
So recently I did a little experiment here at the juice bar with my own blood. I tested my blood before
Yeah.
in the water, and we can, I'm not a scientist, and that's not like 100% scientific proof what I did. But what I noticed is that my blood cells were sticking together and creating like a chain that's called rouleau.
Mm-hmm.
And what I know about that is when the blood cells they stick to each other, they're not able to transport oxygen as well, or
Mm-hmm.
nutrients, vitamins, minerals, things like that. But the thing that I've learned in my experience in emergency medicine is that no matter what it is, everybody dies from hypoxia, which is lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
A heart attack, same thing. The death, a myocardial infarction is a death of the muscle tissue in the heart, but that's also due to lack of oxygen. But same like a gunshot wound. Why does a gunshot victim die? Lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
Everybody. So when my body is dehydrated and acidic and my blood cells are not transporting oxygen like they're supposed to, I'm going to have a hard time. Now we can go down a lot of different rabbit holes to talk about how we're all being deoxygenated in this environment that we live in, whether it's from one reason or another. There's probably 1,000 different reasons, but what one thing that I've learned is that this water that we promote, that I drink and promote all the time, is hydrogen rich, oxygen saturated. And hydrogen is the number one element on the periodic table of elements, but it's probably the one that we don't have available to us the most.
Mhm.
So since you've invested in this Japanese technology, since you've gone down this path as the water fairy,
Mhm.
how has having hydrogen in your life, what changes have you noticed? What type of benefits have you noticed, having that hydrogen rich, oxygen saturated water in your life?
Mm. The mental clarity has been so stimulating and it has increased my consciousness, my connection to source. Because again, I'm clear, I'm free of toxins. I've released that, which means that I can really feel what's happening in my body, which brings a lot of authenticity. It brings that sensation of health, wellness, groundedness, stability. It's really changed my life in so many ways. And I think knowing that what I'm giving myself, and that is valuing myself and giving myself exactly what I need, is helped the love and compassion I have for myself too. When we have access to the things that our bodies need, then we know that we're just full of love. I have so much self-love because I can give myself the best living water, and I know that's healing my cells. It works similar to antioxidants, where it's donating the negative electron and healing the cell. I mean, that is life. It does give me life. So a lot of energy, I feel vibrant. I feel like I'm thriving. I feel healthy and confident all the time.
I do say that a lot in the juice bar. I say loving your water is the best way to love yourself because you're primarily water. If you
Yeah.
love 70% of what you're made of, then by default you're going to increase your self-love too. So thank you for sharing that. I have each question that I have here kind of touches on a different category or subject, and so you've mentioned the all the change, the positive benefits and things that you've. So I want to talk about vision, because the thing that I've recently learned is that we all have sight. I mean, some people are blind and then they don't have sight, but they could still hear. Their senses, other senses are still available, but not everybody has vision. Vision is from the heart. Vision is something that creator gives you that nobody else can see. And
Yeah.
and it's when, like, you probably see my vision, and that's why you want to go with me right now in this moment. You're here with me because you know my vision.
Mhm.
And it's similar like how I feel about you. I can lean on you and trust you, and I'll go with you in the dark because I know you have vision. So my question is, if you were to pick, because I kind of feel like you're not as active in your Kangen water business. You do entrepreneurship and you're in, you dabble in a lot of different things. But if you were to pick up your Kangen business again and hold it with you, every day like you do with your water and your health and your wellness and your consciousness, what would excite you the most about sharing this water and this opportunity today? What do you
Yeah.
think would be the most exciting part about that today?
That's a really good question. And I'll give you a quick side note. Yesterday, I sold a machine without
What?
even trying. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
that all the time. I say that to the people that
Yeah.
sign up because they're like, I don't want to do the business. And I say, hey, you might accidentally do the business. You don't even know.
Yeah. I had no intent. I got a phone call. She said, here's my credit card number. And I sent her the link and she's like, no, just take my credit card number. I want it. Just get it. I mean, it literally took me 5 minutes and I'm 4A. So I don't remember how much I make off that, but it's a lot. So that was really exciting. As far as vision, what I am most excited about sharing with people, there's a lot of things. Health and wealth, they go together, right? I love helping people get healthy because of my childhood. I feel very, very connected to that. And wealth, obviously, because, that's freedom, that's independence, that's autonomy, that's living a lifestyle by design. Truly, I know these are all catchy phrases, but we all have the ability to do that. Health and wealth is so connected, and you've probably shared this on your platform before, but it's in the words and the language that we use, right? Cash flow, currency,
Yeah.
banks, the correlation between health and wealth, liquid assets. I mean, it is one in the same. You truly can see how water affects financial abundance and this correlation there. So my two favorite things, health and wealth. You literally get to deliver that to people as one and the same. And it's such a beautiful offering and opportunity to share with people, because who doesn't want that? I mean, that's what we're here for. And that's where so many people find limitations and where they're lacking. So I love that. That first and foremost is
One,
what I am so inspired by.
one thing that you forgot though to mention is that most people right now in America 2025, they're barely keeping their head above water.
Totally.
And
Good
that's
point.
financially, that's health, that's everything across the
Good
board.
points.
So that's a metaphor that we cannot ignore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I
keep going about your vision. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I think that one a really important point I wanted to make in this conversation too, and something I'd like to encourage people around is to notice where they're taking water for granted. How easy it is to pour it out of a tap or go to a lake or a river stream, but how often do we really see the life force that it carries and how magical and intelligent it truly is? Water, structured water, what you get from Kangen water, it is structured sacred geometry. That is everything that we consist of molecularly. I mean, it should be structured water is a 6 point hexagonal shape, like a beautiful snowflake. Structured water does not come out of the tap, unfortunately. It does not come from water bottles. But we need to identify that water is different, can be from different sources. It is different, and how to value and show and express and share gratitude for water that is the type of water that our body craves, that we do need to be abundant. We do need the right type of water.
So this jar that I like to drink from has it's an old honey jar because
Yeah.
I love the bees, and you mentioned hexagonal
Yeah.
structure,
Yeah.
similar to how naturally they build their honeycomb because it's a very strong structure. And I think we're a lot like the bees in the sense that that which is in you is that which is in me. We carry a similar consciousness, but also we vibrate. These bees are not aerodynamic. They're not designed to fly, but they levitate almost, or their vibrational frequency allows them to fly. And that's how you remind me too. I mean, I can imagine you kind of buzzing around here in the juice bar like a little bee with excitement because you know how beneficial all of this stuff is, and that's how I feel too sometimes. So thank you for sharing that wisdom. Anything else you'd like to share about your vision? Because vision is something that you can't see. So you explaining it is the best way for us to see it.
Yeah, to create a vision, we have to cultivate a level of passion. And I think passion does come from that curiosity. So it's almost like that reverse engineering thing, right? When we set goals, but rather a vision of where do we want to be? Okay. And how can I get really curious about the thing that leads me towards that vision? How can I really find, because in a space of gratitude and love is where we manifest, that's where abundance comes from. We really can't create from lack, at least not intentionally. And so to work back from that vision and say, what's important to me? What gives me life? What fills me up? What gives me health? What is that ripple effect that I can share with others? And to start to educate, following Masaru Emoto, Veda Austin, people who have tested water molecules and can literally show you the intelligence, the innate godlike in God intelligence of water that we interact with every single day but take for granted. So how can we incorporate more of that love and gratitude in our daily routines with the right water, holding it sacred, valuing it, loving it, holding it, blessing it as I drink it, telling my body how much I love it. And then that can sometimes, result in that vision of where can I go with this thing that I'm now so passionate about and so grateful for? How can I create from this space? And that ultimately can be the vision that you want your life to be.
Thank you. I'm a student of quantum physics. You're really getting into the quantum reality of the interconnectedness of all things. And the water is what really connects us the most, I feel like. And there's a book that I have called The Holographic Universe. I found it, there was a moment of synchronicity at the thrift store where I found this book right next to a Black's Law dictionary.
Oh.
It was a quantum, yeah, exactly, right. To me, that was just a full-blown message for me.
No.
And so I got them both. And in one of the early chapters in the holographic universe, it talks about the sea of living electron, or the living sea of electrons. And
Mm.
it reminds me that a fish is wet its entire life and never knows, but a frog knows the difference, right? So if you think about
Yeah.
a fish is wet its entire life, but what if we're like the fish in a sea of living electrons? And then you think about quantum entanglement, and how is it that we can think of somebody and then they call us or they text us or they walk into the juice bar? That happens way more often than not, where Denise and I will be back here and we'll have it in our heart that says, wow, I wonder how so and so is doing. And then within 20 minutes or a half an hour, they walk through the door. And in
Yeah.
my mind is because they had the intention to come to the juice bar, so they were thinking about us. And
Mm.
that's what sent that text message through the quantum realm straight to my heart and my mind. And I said, hey, I wonder how so and so is doing. But I'll tell you, it's happened hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And maybe that's kind of how, I mean, we actually had physical conversations that led us to this conversation right now. But you're never really too far away from my thoughts, because I think to myself, what would Kandle do in this situation? Because of your experience in entrepreneurship is greater than mine. Your experience in helping people is more profound than mine. So I'm still learning, but also I'm teaching, and I
Mm.
don't have access to a lot of mentors. I've had
Mm.
to find them. I've had to search for them. And you were gifted to me as a mentor. And
Mm.
that's a big reason why you're here today, because I'll tell you, and I haven't really told many people, but I'm tomorrow is 1 month sober for me. But also, I realized I probably shouldn't say that because I've been eating more sugar this month and not processed, Reese's Pieces like I did 10 years ago, more health conscious, but still coconut sugar is still sugar. My body still is going to respond in a similar way. So I'm not off of all drugs,
Yeah.
but I'm getting close. I'm closer than I have been my whole life. And I can feel that that quantum entanglement is getting stronger,
Mhm.
which is what really inspired me to connect with you today, because tomorrow is also a lunar eclipse, and
Mhm.
that's a huge magnetic um, output for
Yeah.
us in
Yeah.
this time. And it's also, 1 month for me to have a clearer mind, more clear than before, and to have just a cleaner body, more than before. And I mean, I could see it in my eyes. I could see it in the way that I think, and my interactions with people are improving, but also it's been a tough year for me for multiple reasons. And that's what led to this decision. Was I said, I need to separate myself from this crutch,
Yeah.
and I need to start leaning on things that are more beneficial, it turns out. So right now, that's you. My next question, though, I have here is leadership, and that's why I led into you're like a mentor, a leader for me. And I feel though that it's reciprocal. So I'm glad that I'm able to help you out in certain ways too. I'll never forget when we just went grocery shopping in your neighborhood market. Like that
You
was
are my advocate. You play so many roles in my life. It
right.
actually is a little bit of a shock to hear that I'm a mentor to you too, although I know I am and we share a lot. But gosh, I've always looked up to you. Like you're so wise, you bring so much value, you're so resilient, and you're not afraid of shit. You just do what's right. And you have an inner knowing that is so strong and unmovable, and the way that you show up for other people in your life. I don't know that I've had an advocate quite like you before.
Thank you for choosing that word, because I've been a caregiver, but also more of an advocate for vulnerable adults and children throughout my life as a professional, and to be able to do that for my friends, especially during the times that we've had in the last few years, it felt more like an honor and a duty than an obligation. So I really felt honored to be in that position, especially at that time. So my question is, you've always been someone who leads by example, at least as long as I've known you, and how do you inspire others in your inner circle? You say you have like your new best friend, your little sister kind of, that you have now, but maybe you think about other people when this comes to mind, but how do you inspire others in your inner circle to take charge of their health and their personal sovereignty?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is, so I'm a very influential person and I really love to know the truth. I'm an investigator, a seeker of knowledge. I want to know the truth. And I want people to know that I know the truth and that they should also believe the truth. So it's actually taken a lot of patience for me to let them, right? The theory around allowing people to be where they are in life. And as a projector, we are not supposed to give our beautiful gifts of wisdom until that's invited and requested. And then it's gold. It's gold just oozing from our existence. But if it's not invited, I know better now that that's not my place and that other people are where they are. So leading by example and showing up in my life the way at my highest and best, my most optimal self is the best way that I truly can influence people. I believe, I'm not the leader of the group, right? I've been around phenomenal mentors and leaders, and my best advice around leadership and accelerating your results, expanding your potential, releasing self-limiting beliefs, and stretching higher than you'd ever thought you could is be around the people who are inspiring, who have similar values, goals, dreams, wishes. People like you, Dave, that are so purpose driven, mission driven, and passionate that nothing will get in your way. You will climb mountains and swim streams to make a point and to live your life aligned with who you truly are. And that's the kind of people that I want to be around. It is community, birds of a feather, right? We really do glean from the people that we spend time with. And so I'm selective about people in my life because I'm not going to spend time with people who aren't behaving in the way that I would, or they're out of integrity, or have the qualities that just don't align with me. No disrespect to where they are in their life, but I want to be around the dreamers, the doers, the visionaries, and the humanitarianism, the collective consciousness, those that are really truly connected to God and in their own power and valuing freedom. Those are the things that inspire me. So I inspire others. I try to in the same way, in the best way that I know how.
I can relate 1,000% to what you're saying because I've struggled with that in mostly with my family.
Yeah.
I've broken generational curses, but I've also created a lot of harm, with my sharp tongue sometimes and my strong convictions. I have strong convictions. It's passion, but also I get angry because my loved
Mhm.
ones are being harmed through lack of knowledge. And I
Yep.
have the knowledge and I have the tools, but I don't have the tools to be patient, to be kind sometimes, is difficult for me. And that anger comes through, but it's not anger towards the individual, it's anger towards the deceit, the deception,
Yeah.
the trickery, and the propaganda. So that's what we're up against. And that's,
Yeah.
but thank you for sharing, your point of view on that too. It's very helpful. Um,
Isn't it a blessing and a curse to have so much drive towards helping others, even when they don't want
well,
it?
I've been told that I water seedlings with a fire hose.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that in your case.
Are you receiving a phone call? Is everything
No,
okay?
I was turning the light on because I felt like my face was a little dark. I don't know if this is any better or worse, though. How's that?
That's good. It's great. Yeah,
Okay.
it shines on your glasses more. There's more of a glare.
Okay, I need to
So,
get a ring light eventually now that I'm a podcaster with you.
well, you shine bright. You're a lighthouse. So we talked about that too. So the next question though that I have has more to do with community. I asked about your inner circle and we talked about that, but what about, so if someone were thinking about, joining, going hand in hand with you or shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip in your entrepreneurship journey, whatever that is, basically what's the biggest benefit you think that they would gain by going with you on your journey?
That's a good question. Because it can be so specific to each individual desire. You really can't, I mean, we are the architects of our lives, right? And the people that we choose to be around us, they can help us build that beautiful vision that we have for ourselves. In the case of Kangen and water and business, take it as there is literally no limit to the potential and to what you can create, the lifestyle. And that's time and time again. You see that with so many entrepreneurs in Kongan that have done that and they're fully sharing, showing, revealing the life that they live and the purpose that they have. It really can be so expansive, and the sky is truly the limit there. But it all starts with the foundation of health and wealth, and that's the focus. But then, what are the details of what that looks like for each individual person? And being around people that I know, love, and trust, and vice versa, feeling supported by those that are around me, creating really wonderful connections, doing my best to show up in this world by making an impact. And I can't think of a better way to do that than with this opportunity. There's literally.
So the best thing that I see, similar to me, and why I've connected with you today is because it's best to find people who are like-minded, similar vision, similar purpose, and then some people, I think like the Mormons, they go, and the Jehovah's Witness, they go in twos.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's a reason for that. They're not dumb. They know that there's power in two, and even in biblical purposes, it says where two or more are gathered, I will be there, right? So we're talking about the spirit of Christ consciousness, and we can go down a whole another rabbit hole, but this is kingdom entrepreneurship. So we have to talk about the kings and at some point. And like right now, what we're doing is we're bringing together this certain energy, this spirit of sovereignty you mentioned. And if I had the opportunity to join your team and go door knocking with you, for example, I think we could change a lot of lives. So, and we'd have to recognize who the seedlings are and maybe turn down the fire hose just enough to make an impact or an impression. And we
Yeah.
don't want to make the wrong impression or be too much too fast. And I do have that tendency sometimes. And but I think you're a little bit more gentle, a little bit more intentional, and maybe you can recognize where somebody is and meet them where they're at, and then slowly guide them to where you are, or at least, wherever they might want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gift. I'm learning that skill myself. I just want to run,
Yeah.
and
You got places to
yeah,
go, and you got mountains to climb and rivers to swim. It's like you have a big movement and you're like, where's my tribe? Where's my team? My militia? Let's go, guys. Let's go.
yeah.
Let's do this shit.
Well, and even if we
Oh
go
my
back
God.
in time and think about the mandates and the different things that we dealt